What's going on, YouTube? You already know who it is, baby. It's another masterclass for our beloved pet deck, Heroes, Post Supreme Darkness, guys. Bring you guys a third masterclass. Hoping this one's gonna be quick. Been saying that the last two should have been quick, but this one's gonna be for sure quick. 30 minutes tops. If we could do it in less, like 20, that'd be awesome. But yeah, let's get right into it. So a couple of things in terms of what this masterclass is looking to cover is this is highly requested, highly anticipated by a lot of y'all out there in the Facebook Yu-Gi-Oh community. But right now, this masterclass is going to cover the following. So we're going to go over um, just typical interactions when it comes to the hero end board and what we actually get out of the hero end board post Supreme Darkness. You're going to see live gameplay footage against a Tempai striker deck. So it's not necessarily the top tier meta deck. Keep that in mind, guys. But the reason why I've chosen this deck matchup as a good sample to show us what the hero deck is capable of is it mixed really well a good portion of hand traps as well as board breakers when it comes to um, their deck, which I personally did play Temple. I didn't play the striker variant just because I had access to all like different full power Tempai engines, such as three Chandra, three Kaiman. I dropped the deck ever since the latest ban list when Chandra went to one and Kaiman went to one. But it looks like the deck, can still FTK, right? And one of the reasons why I picked up this deck, this particular matchup to showcase for you guys some advanced combos is, because of like the mix of hand traps as well as board breakers that the opponent was using, I get to essentially show you guys how your deck actually should be operating in a more balanced format, perhaps not the one we're currently in, with like Blue Eyes coming out, Malice is running like 10 plus Bestials, you got Fiendsmith Ryzeal with like 15 hand traps and a couple of board breakers, talents, thrust, things like that. But yeah, I mean, bear with me. I think there's a lot of really good learning in this matchup just because we do get to combo off. That's first and foremost. And the Tempai Striker deck is still using hand traps, so we are still using relatively strategic lines to avoid hand traps. But we're also going to show you guys what some of the interactions with the new hero end board looks like and why it's important. So after the gameplay and showing you guys the different combos that I'm leveraging, we're going to look over the list just to see where I'm currently kind of thinking about this deck in terms of the current meta. So yeah, let's get right into it. So it looks like I win the dice roll and I go first. I opened up with a Dusted Gold, Mally, Poly, Ferris, as well as the Dark Fusion. Not a bad hand to start. You've got essentially two pushes when it comes to your hand, right? You're out Dusted Gold into Evil Assault, that's a push, as well as your Ferris. And then the opponent opens Genroku, Mobilize, Engage, Hydra, Lightning Storm, as well as Droplet. Interesting. So three board breakers, ultimately. We're gonna actually be able to actually beat this guy. I believe I take it to him round one. So no hand traps, so do keep that in mind. But you're gonna notice, guys, I'm gonna be playing in a way that's actually respecting all the different hand traps. So right out the get-go, game one, I'm not respecting Droll. The reason being is Droll is probably gonna be in the side just due to relevance of Malice in this format. So the fact that Malice exists, even though Droll and Lockport to a certain degree does hurt Fiendsmith Ryzeal or like Mitsurugi Ryzeal, I don't see a lot of topping lists and topping players um, main it. People are still maining it. Absolutely. You should still respect it to wherever degree you can. But the reality is, we're cutting mass change to one in the main and potentially one or more in the side. So yeah, I mean, like the turbo law to essentially play around uh Droll and Lockport unfortunately just isn't necessarily I wouldn't say it's not there. I'm still playing through Mass Change. I would just say it's gonna be a lot less common that you go down that route just due to the fact that we're playing, upwards like 45 cards plus in this deck. So I'm on a 50. So yeah, we go add us gold, and then we add the evil assault. Excellent evil assault pitch the dark fusion. Now this was quite important because if I was to pitch the malicious, that would kind of actually leave me vulnerable to hand traps, leaving me more susceptible to hand traps. Here's why. And we're talking about like the classical hand traps, like Imperm, Veiler, Ash. The reason being is we already know that if we do end up having resolved the evil assault line of hero play, so not your typical engine like Vion and all that, um, we're gonna need some fodder for Ferris, right? Always, always, like here's a pro tip, guys. Always, always be mindful of your discards because the fact is your droplet discards, your evil assault discards, your Ferris discards, your super poly discards, it's a lot of discarding. So the reason why we actually pitched the Dark Fusion is if this gets stopped, well, then so be it. And there's probably no realm that I'm actually gonna get to be able to use the Dark Fusion anyways. Because if the line does succeed and the evil stuff does start resolving, then I'm able to actually grab this out the graveyard anyways. So it's essentially using Evil Assault as if it's a hero lives, but cost free. Obviously, without the life points. So yeah, pro tip. So if this was stopped, like Ash or Impermed anywhere along the way, Nib even, because the evil stuff does summon quite a fair bit. You're gonna be like fusion summoning into the backfire, right? They can literally have hand trapped you there in theory, right? Like it's not like everybody in this current meta knows exactly what Heroes does, and we have to use that to our advantage as a rogue strategy. I always preach that. Cool. Moving on, we go dead end. Looks like we do take the risk and we go Sinister Necrom. This kind of checks Bestials, guys. Um, Nowadays, I don't tell people that I'm sending for cost because I want people to like be hasty and commit an imperm. Then I tell them, oh, by the way, that was for cost. Do you have anything here? So if they mess up and they imperm and then they get hasty because they messed up and they double down and they go bestial on the Mally or the Shadow Mist or Sinister Necrom, so be it. Because now all of a sudden we've checked a very, very dangerous bestial that could potentially out your Destiny heroes. It could potentially out your DPE near the end of the combo if it's a really good player. And in this case, we're actually able to maintain the integrity of our full classical engine because we did open up Ferris and Mali, which are three ofs in my list, of course. So yeah, the evil stuff, again, I've preached this before. Excellent, excellent bait for hand traps. Excellent, excellent bait. Yep, we got Infernal Rider, he comes out, and we get the Dark Fusion back to our hand, so essentially got to use Evil Assault cost free, which is pretty cool. We go Backfire, Backfire as the Dark Supremacy. Excellent. And we kick off the um, Vision Hero line of play. Good note here as well, guys, is always, always be frugal with your normal summon. Never commit that stuff early on in the game, ever, especially with any kind of deck actually beyond just heroes. In this hand particularly, if they were hand trapping anything in regards to the evil hero stuff and maybe maintained like one Imprimer Ash for their vision line of play, and that's all they had, it doesn't matter. This hand was so busted, it could probably potentially play through, I want to say, comfortably 2 to 3 hand traps, even potentially 4, if we're talking about, your classical hand traps such as Imperm, Veiler, Ash. The reason being is if they're gonna exhaust a lot of stuff on the evil stuff, that's fine. We still have a lot of interrupts that we can land on with just the vision line of play. Here, if the Vision Hero Ferris gets Ashed or Imperm that line into Vion, it doesn't matter because what you're gonna see is the fact that we're actually just opened up Poly right out the get-go. But let's say we didn't have Poly here, we're actually able to use Malicious to extend into our link plays and be able to then actually grab the Vion and then normal have that be our normal summon. But yeah, we don't necessarily have to do it that way with the Sedge because we did open polymerization. So you're actually guys going to see I'm going to actually stick the increase in the back row, and then that increase is going to be used as a dodge resource to check every single classical hand trap in the book to get me the maximum value possible out of my deck because I'm going to be threatening to dodge with the increase at the back row because I no longer even need to access the Vion at all because I already opened the polymerization. Never waste resources from your deck that you already have access to. There's just simply no need. So we go increase again, like I said, we leave the increase in the back row because since we have polymerization in hand, or even if we opened up like Rhoda or Foolish Burial or even the Vion itself, hold on to that stuff for your deal life at the very end. You have to feel out your opponent and leave that mental checklist of, okay, what are the hand traps that I've been hit with? Have I been hit with Ash? Great. Can I extend? Yes, awesome. I cannot be hit with Ash again, right? Mental checklist. I got hit with two imperms. What are the likelihood that they have, a third hand trap being like Veiler or Ash? It's a lot less likely, right? As your opponent starts to hand trap you with our beloved rogue hero deck, you have to keep that mental checklist of as your opponent continuously hand traps you, your risk tolerance goes a lot higher, right? You should be able to actually go balls to walls, in my opinion, in your combos. If you're getting hand trap early on, you're still able to extend. Because the odds are every time they commit a hand trap, they're down a card, and they're a lot less likely to have any more of not only those hand traps, but just hand traps in general. Excellent. So we do a big brain move. We keep the increase at the bottom row there. We go cross effect, and then we go Stratos. Stratos adds the denier because we want to complete the loop because we have access to the malicious, but we do not have access to the denier. So we want to get both of the destiny names in rotation. It won't always come up with the evil hero stuff in motion as well. But because we open Mali, it left us in a good spot to actually search this off the Stratos, and we obviously need the Stratos as an element on board to facilitate the classical fusion plays with polymerization. Cool. We go from Devicer. We basically, guys, add all your resources first, then commit your polymerization because the ideal time to get nibbed is while you're fusing, right? So if you're able to bait out all these different hand traps, the threat of Nibiru just becomes a lot less likely because your opponent's already committing cards from their hand, right? They only open five, right? There's only so much someone can do. So here it looks like we go for the Infernal Wingman. Cool. We add the favorite contact, Sunrise. Looks like we tag out the Sunrise. So it looks like we played very conservatively here, guys. We really respected Nibiru in that play there just because we noticed that a lot of our cards were essentially um like a lot of our combos were just kind of going through, which leads me to think two things. Either Nib or Bistshield's already kind of checked for. It's either Nib or Board Breakers. That's how I should think about it. If you don't get nibbed on Poly, I would bet that you're probably going to be just fine this game. They don't have it, or if they try to nib at the variant because they don't know what's going on, you're going to be insulated because of DPE wake up. Always land on DPE wake up because that insulates you from Nibiru, and we'll see how. Um, but the minute you guys get the sense, your intuition kicks in that they might be on breakers, which they are. They have three board breakers, which we will eat through like butter. Uh, your mindset should go towards trying to go full combo as possible, just because it's going to allow you for the maximal ceiling when it comes to the deck, which is why in general we just play now the evil package in Omni, because a lot of one card combos and then the mix of hand traps with board breaker just really leaves the deck susceptible in this current format. So yeah, we got rid of the Sunrise off the board because we really wanted to respect Nibiru. Because like in the chance that we got nibbed on the first poly, we still would have landed on DPE plus favorite contact, right? If they had nibbed there. But because they didn't, we're gonna reap the benefit and punish them further by continuing to fuse. So we're gonna go wake up. And then so DPE wake up is established. We set super poly, and then it looks like we set favorite contact as well as the super poly. Amazing. And then we go, yes. Okay, another pro tip, guys. So there's a lot of comments in the Facebook hero group about Liquid Soldier and its position in the current list and format, um, with all the evil hero stuff because we discard so much that people are starting to bring Liquid Soldier back in. Two comments right off the bat. I find it interesting how the minute that there is something worth playing with the hero archetype beyond what we're used to, we now are talking about Liquid Soldier being the answer to that issue. And we know very well that when Karibo level 6 or whatever, that furball just simply is not the answer, right? Like that just kind of sets the context to, in reality, what was back then the more ideal card that was going to give you a lot more options in a more general game state. And the reality is it was Liquid Soldier, right? The draw to a Pot of Greed was more general in terms of its benefit to you as the hero player than a Wing Karibo Ogre Pop that you only got access to if you went far enough in your combo if you didn't get stopped, right? Food for thought, right? But anyways, the reason why I bring this up is people are starting to talk about bringing Liquid Soldier back in for this deck just because we will be discarding a lot. We discarded a lot due to Evil Assault, Droplet potentially if we're going second, also Ferris. Now, I already showed you guys that the discarding is actually fine if you're quite comfortable with discarding. Because, when we open Evil Assault and we saw like Dark Fusion, or maybe it could have been like the Super Poly, or it could have been the favorite contact, or it could have been even like your Dark Supremacy. Those are probably your best bet to discard first and foremost because you're gonna get them back in the combo anyways. And if you do get stopped, those cards rarely actually add on additional value. Dark Supremacy still has some value if you hold on to it in your hand, if you are able to like resolve this negated. The other aspect as well is favorite contact does have really good application if you do hard open it as well. I find if you do get hand trapped extensively and you can't extend, favorite contact does sometimes come up and actually put you in a game state that's survivable, so you could potentially play another turn. But in general, like your first priority of discard is going to be like non-engine, so probably not Ash because you don't want to get fooled or like Max Seed or anything. It's probably going to be like I don't know, like Forbidden Droplet or a Mulch Army or anything like that, because you can't use that going first. Then I would actually consider things like your Dark Vision, like we did in this combo, favorite contact, as well as your Dark Supremacy, because you get them back at the grave as anyways. Those cards that search those, like your Backfire and your Infernal Rage, can search that from the graveyard. You're gonna notice here as well that we extended one last time before we pass priority back into the attempt of going to end phase to check for Nib one last time. And what we did here was it looks like we used Denier to reset Mali, going into end phase, knowing Vero that we're going to shuffle our deck in access of the mass change off the pop of Wake Up that's going to special summon the Shadow Mist, right? So this is really key because it's giving us that dark body to make Dark Claw to shut down potentially like a Forbidden Droplet or any kind of graveyard dependent board breakers potentially or cards like starters like maybe like an X Ryzeal or even like a what's another one? Nadir Servant, that's another big one, or Ultimate Slayer, that's another huge one that requires the graveyard to resolve. Forbidden Drop Later is also offline, which is going to be really impactful for us. So we had the mass change, and then we obviously keep the Shadow Mist on the field, and there's very good reason why we've kept this on the field. Obviously, our Super Poly is going to get dusted by Lightning Storm, but that's fine. In theory, if they did not have this, we're actually able to use the DPE that's coming back, pop the Shadow Mist to give us that draw that we need to send off the Super Polymerization to be able to resolve it. So this is why I'm showing you guys this gameplay as well, is because you don't actually need your Liquid Soldier if you know what you're doing. You have to be very careful in how you're actually managing your resources. And in this case, I showed you perfectly that it is possible to still land on one card in hand, to discard it, to have all your different end board pieces live. And you guys already saw we're able to resolve both Evil Assault as well as Ferris. So that's two discards and still having one more card left in hand while we're interacting with our opponent. it does put you in a game state where like your whole board, like your whole hand is on board, no hand traps, right? That's just the kind of state that we're in. Heroes is kind of like do or die. Our whole hand is going to convert into the board, and that's okay. It's just how the deck plays. You have to be comfortable with that. Like there are game states where like you might have an additional card. Like Liquid Soul is still good in my opinion, because in theory we'd have, if we did all this, the add off the Shadow Mist plus one more discard, because we go plus one off the draw two, send a discard one, right? Like in theory, it is more safe, but you don't want. There's already so many bricks in the deck, and I'm not saying Liquid Soldier is a brick, because Liquid Soldier is definitely not a brick in comparison to cards such as your Dead End Prison, cards such as your Dark Fusion, cards such as like your what do you call him? Your Infernal Backrider. Like this guy is the worst. Or even like your Super Poly. Liquid Soldier is completely different tier of a card on its own. It's a great card. Do not get me wrong. But because we are, banking on these end pieces providing us with that increased ceiling of a deck, Liquid Soldier, unfortunately, didn't make the cut. But if you can play him, if you have the space, I still would recommend it. Definitely would still recommend him over Wing Karibo, especially in this current format. But yeah, like I said, it's still possible to have that additional card in hand to resolve Super Poly after two discards, after going full combo. And we did it right here, which is pretty cool. DB comes back, so it looks like he goes as his opening move, Sky Structure maneuvers after burners, targeting the Dark Claw to, I believe, is it negate just to destroy it. Cool. So what I do is I negate that. That's fine. Then he proceeds to go Lightning Storm. I think it was correct because you knew I set a negate. So why not just try to get rid of the most impactful piece on my board, which is the Dark Claw, right? Well, the reason why he's going after Dark Claw, guys, because he's worried about the hand rip, because that might potentially break his hand with the fact that he has Engage in hand. It also is gonna activate his Forbidden Droplet, right? It's gonna make it online. And on top of that, it makes this a lot more impactful than this, because he's threatening to essentially turn on so much more of his hand by trying to turn off the Dark Claw. So you have to immediately right away, you're protecting your Dark Claw. Your Dark Claw is probably your most pivotal uh end piece in this game state. Like I love the fact that like people are saying, oh, let's cut the mass change. Like you guys are crazy. Let's cut Dark Claw. Guys, that's sorry, that ain't it. I'm sorry, that stuff is not it. Because should all the evil hero stuff um be stopped by hand traps, you can still land on Darklaw with Forest and Malicious the way we just did. Like this on its own, guys, is turning off so much of the additional effects of his Sky Striker card, because he has to have his spells engraved, and it's turning off Droplet. Also, because this is Tempai, Shifter does hurt Tempai to a certain degree, right? Because if he tries to synchro off in battle phase, his monsters are not touching the grave, they're touching the banishment. So what happens then is if he tries to go Green Dragon, Phaedra, it's never coming back. Uh, and again, the same is actually true for a lot of decks that can still relatively well operate under Shifter. Ryzeal, Fiendsmith Ryzeal. The Fiendsmith engine is completely offline. Then you've also turned off X Ryzeal, which is literally a negate with the inherent special summon, which is a broken card. That card is going to one. You heard it here. Like there's a banless prediction. It's already won in OCG as well. Law is still one of the best cards in this deck. Hands down. Like post side, if you want to side out all your mass changes, so be it. But like please guys, play one copy. Leave this as an option in your M board, because it will come up and you definitely need it, because these three board breakers, or like these four, they're easily tearing apart our entire board, even the fact that we have a negate and a super poly. It just is. Cool. So it looks like we are summoning the Neo Swingman because we didn't have so I do play the Dystopia, especially even online. I play the Dystopia. He Yeah, I didn't play the stubby because we already fused off the sunrise, so that doesn't give me the value. So I was like, you know what? Let's just go Neo Swingman and Prey doesn't have droplet, which he does, but Dark Law checks that. So it's putting it in a we're essentially creating like a roadblock for someone to try and get over. And in this case, it actually turned out that this is a Tempai striker deck. I kind of had a feeling. So this card is actually incredible against Tempai because they just can't get over it even with their biggest dragons, which is kind of insane to think about. So it looks like I set the Dark Law play because we can actually, even though we're playing the one copy, since we resolve the Dark Supremacy, if this gets out, it actually can put it back into my extra deck because of Dark Supremacy. Because I can move things from Banishment and Grave back into the extra deck or main deck. So this is why I can like still play the one Mass Change, reset the Mass Change, reset the Dark Law, play the one Dark Law, and still feel like you're able to put Dark Law back up on the board in a state of grind as well. Nice. So he goes Widow Anchor. I go Law here. Response. He holds the Widow Anchor for some reason. I feel like it's a misplay. I would have just used it right there on the Law, and then their droplet can actually turn this off and this off. And that leaves me with literally nothing. Because now what's going to happen is I hit the droplet, which is quite important. And then he tries to hit the DPE. I chain the DPE to save it, as well as gain access to a +1 with the search. Chain one miss just to insulate from Ash yet again. And he goes Tenpai stuff, and at that point it doesn't matter because he's not getting over Dark Law or the Neo Swingman. It's just game at that point. There's nothing he can do. Nothing that he can make under Shifter that outs Law as well as Neo Swingman. Also, guys, this guy was talking a lot of smack. Like his rating's not bad. He's like almost 700, but we did clop him. He started like actually like check my deck when I was using Infernal Rage, and he called me out like, "Oh, bro, like you're gonna get sharked on here." Like some of the people on this website are honestly the worst. Like Dualbook is cancer, guys. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. It just is. I hate this community and the people that actually play Dualbook. They're all cancerous and they're just very toxic. So he starts coaching. I'm like, dude, I don't need you to coach me. Like it's fine. Like I know I checked my deck, but I'm going back in. And I don't even have an actual target for Infernal Rage. He's like, oh, it's illegal. Well, like, what are you gonna do? I'm going back into my deck. It doesn't change anything. I try to explain this to him. But yeah, then he's like, oh, you're a kid. Starts calling me names. I'm like, dude, like, here's a tip. Like, I don't need to take advice from somebody I just beat, right? Like, that's your takeaway from this video, guys. Do not take advice from somebody who just does not have the resume, okay? If you don't have the resume, you shouldn't be talking in the first place. But people like to talk anyways in this hobby. So my best advice to you is just don't even take advice. Only take advice from people that actually know what they're talking about. They got the track record to prove it. Besides, this guy's calling me an idiot. He's playing Tempai, like especially post format, post SUDA format when the entire deck was just shafted after I think it was like YCS Anaheim or Florida. I don't know, one of the American YCSs. The one that Triff won. After the YCS that Triff won, Tempai was just nowhere to be seen. Like there were some Fiendsmith lists, there's some striker lists, but it just hasn't been the same, guys. They're definitely not better than what Tempai used to be at full power. So yeah, we're talking smack. He's like, saying, I'm like, dude, just stop complaining. Like nothing. The game said it's fine. Like you need to just stop. He's like, oh, I'm teaching you. The guy's gonna get. He's gonna take the L and he's gonna rage quit. He's not gonna actually hit the quit button. He's like, oh, be grateful I'm teaching you something new. This guy's a chump, guys. Whoever Ultra Black is, bro, like you're a chump, bro. And Mama raised a scrub. Honestly, your mama raised a scrub. Anyways, so we go game two. Leave the Atlas of Gold, guys. The importance of one ofs very key. This one of literally changes the entire trajectory of the game because the game could have been over right there and then because of the draw. But because we play the one of, even in a deck of 50, absolutely play the one of, it came up and we reaped the benefits. I think we still end up losing this. Um, but that's fine. One of the cool things in this round that I wanted to show is although we open the one of a dead end prison as well as evil assault, at the very least, you can normal summon the dead end prison, then use your shadow mist to search Ferris, and then your evil assault is summoning out another your other copy of Addison Gold. Whether you play two or three, you should be playing at least two. Um, and so one of the benefits that this does is like, yeah, you're kind of forced to convert your Dead End Prison normal summon as well as your Evil Assault into a vision line of play by adding Ferris, and then these two bodies will be going into Infernal Devicer to add Neos. But I digress. It's a very like brick line, but in this case it came up, and it still gives us a pretty legitimate end board, I would say. Yep, there it is, missed as the Pharaohs. We go link into two, any heroes to add the Neo Swingman, no problem. And we just go Ferris, dump Neo, standard vision lines of play. We can't keep the increase in the back row like last turn because we need to actually resolve Vion this time around. And we just kind of go off. He's got three board breakers and then Chandra, which is a 1-0, which is kind of crazy. Cool. We do some link plays. We go some Destiny stuff. Excellent. So you guys are also gonna notice I added Infernal Rider to my hand because it's wind. Sunrise, guys, is the if not the MVP right now post Supreme Darkness because of all the different like archetypes like Fiend or Rock. I think like yeah, this thing, dude, that imprisons a rock, and they're all like different colors. Like this is a light, this is a wind, this is like a green. Your backfire as well is fire, right? So all that, like Sunrise doesn't care what kind of hero you fuse with, it just cares about the color. Whether it's like wind, fire, light, whatever. So you always now instead of like adding like with soldier, like I do that, I would have actually rather drew two than send this thing to the what do you call it, the graveyard to get like super poly. But I digress. I mean, yeah, you add this because it's the next best thing because it's wind and you can like fuse any of these or like your sunrise to be able to make your sorry, to make your sunrise. Cool. So we make DPE. DPE has to come out first, guys. It insulates you from Nibiru early on. Because if we nib at this point, nib just is gonna check is gonna at least give you some value off of the polymerization that you resolved. Right? Um Awesome. So we reset, and then we go Poly with the Mally as well as Infernal Rider for Sunrise. Sunrise add Miracle, which is going to go into Infernal Rage to add the favorite contact. Very standard lines, I would say. Nothing too crazy here. We will not be landing on Dark Claw or Wake Up, but we do land on DPE, favorite contact into Neos, as well as the Super Poly, which will convert into a Neos Lord, spot removal, non-destruction, as well as the take on summon or when a card is sent to grave. Droplet, I did not set it because there's no way that I was going to be able to draw. In theory, like sometimes you just like you question like was Super Poly here a worse call than the Droplet because Droplet would check your Chandra. But then I mean I thought I had like enough to deal with that one, for like 1 to 2 Tempai bodies on board in battle. Like I thought I'd be okay. But yeah, he opens double Slayer, which is not once per turn, which is really, really good because I can't respond by monster effect. So what I actually ended up doing was I chained my favorite contact, then chained the DPE to save it because I didn't want it to go into the extra deck because you lose that value. But in turn, what that meant is that I was playing into talents, unfortunately, which she's going to use to either steal or like draw two. So we go trap, then now DP can be triggered. And then since we did use the monster effect, we just go ahead and resolve everything just so we get the most amount of value. He draws, and at that point, it's just really hard from there because he could go engage into Widow Anchor, another Slayer, Sales Bam. Just even Book of Eclipse kind of wins this on its own. If he just booked Book of Eclipse and everything, go Chandra. Not much I can do. The Super Volley will check that actually because you can still fuse a face down because because this mentions it and you can fuse it face down on your side of the field. But yeah, let's see what happens. He goes afterburners. Yeah, afterburners. I let this resolve because I just like what are you gonna do? Super Bowl into Neos Lord preemptively, I guess. I didn't think he was gonna be sending anything to graveyard with the Tempai stuff. It's just not. I didn't think it was gonna come up. So I was like, you know what? Neos Swingman hold, but he had another engage, steals. It's pretty much a wrap from there. He can just normal Chandra, summoning off the planet, terraforming. Yeah, it's GG's. It just is. Let me see if he's talking some more smack. He's calling me disabled. Oh, then I start like he's trying to coach me. He's like, "Oh, do I know anything in hand, guys? Pro tip at locals or regionals or any like big events. After a card is added to your hand, they can't ask you what's in your hand, or if even they know a card in your hand. That's an illegal question. What you are obligated to answer is, hey, you used DPE last turn, or you just used DPE. What's its effect? Can you tell me its effect? That they are obligated to answer. You are, as a player, obligated to answer that question. If a card is common knowledge, you are obligated to answer. If a card hasn't been used by you, you are no longer obligated to answer that question. Like if they ask you, what does absolute zero do? And you don't even play it, don't answer. Don't answer. If they ask you after you've added, hey, what does that card do? The trap in your hand, that's called favorite content, you have to answer. But if they ask you, do I know anything in hand? Do I know anything that's set? You don't have to answer because the moment for them to check what card criteria does is at the moment of addition. Beyond that, it's now anonymous information. They're not actually privy to that information. So I called Alani saying, nope, nope, nope. He knows he's wrong because he just proceeds. I'm like, dude, I called the judge to report your ass. Like, take it up with the judge, honestly. Game 3. I open Ash, Mally on top deck, favorite contact, Plasma, evenly mashed, evil assault. I let him go first because I knew that Tenpai stuff was not going to do anything going first, as well as his board breakers were just going to be in his hand. And I can easily check these with my M board, and then I just took advantage of the fact that I was running some board breakers. I was hoping he like, I don't know, sets a bunch of strikes and like board breakers, and I ripped like his whole hand apart. I open Ash. Ash checked the one of Kaiman, which is going to be this on its own. This interaction was pretty much GG's. So I do play some hand traps. It's not a lot, but some. But yeah, we did side out all the evil hero stuff. We get rid of a Book of Eclipse, which is pretty nice. And I just stuck to one Widow Anchor and then more breakers for follow-up. So we go standard hero line of play. No evil stuff. Like we use evil heroes to like bridge into the vision hero stuff, but I digress. We basically just set up a classical hero M board with like DPE as well as the favorite contact set. Here, guys, again, it just goes to show you you need to be insulating and leaving on the back burner your bottom line plays, your critical plays, such as your poly and your violin plays, simply because, right, you guys are gonna notice here that like not committing the fusion plays early baited out a like we'll treat this as a hand trap, right? When we give them something like a Cross Crusader, we don't necessarily like need the search or can like get to that search anyways. For somebody who doesn't know what we do as a rogue deck, this is going to look like a very ideal moment to hit you with interruptions. But because we're smart, we're gonna offer our opponent all these ideal times to do what they want with us, but we're gonna hold back our trump card, which is our polymerization as well as Vion. Always, always hold that, guys. So it looks like we hard press another Cross Crusader because we can still use the search effect. We add the Stratos, and then we go into the Neos again. We're continually link climbing adding resources, then we commit our optimization. We fought about him pausing the game. I think I went to the bathroom because that's how much I really didn't care about this guy. I knew he was cooked. Yep. Typical lines, nothing too crazy. Looks like we're about to make DPE with plasma in hand. Guys, again, like there was a world there where I landed on plasma. What did I tell you guys about this? Plasma should not be part of your M board. Because right now, the way we're treating this game is like we let him go first so we could go first. We went first by breaking his board really evenly. And then we, established our board. Now he's just basically going to play with two cards. Three with the one he's going to bot the top deck. Don't side this out. You always need it to help break into boards, but you should only be landing on plasma if you get Nibiru'd, or if you feel like, they don't have Nibiru and they Bistold you. It's a good way to also out Jerusalem that way. Because, if Jerusalem touches the graveyard, you don't have law. They can out plasma very easily by just crashing the Jerusalem. So yeah, be very, very careful with how you end on this. In this case, I literally just used it for fusion fodder. That's how much I have faith in the classical end board of DPE, favorite contact, wake up versus actually plasma. Because in this case, all he literally has to do is go Slayer, send Antas, spin DPE, Antas checks plasma, pops the plasma. Or just go Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm in attack position. Plasma, and then the Slayer gets rid of the DPE. I don't know, they top deck Hydro. That's pretty much game. We're screwed at that point. But they can't do that if we don't give them the plasma in the first place. We have a set, right? Cool. We go, wake up thing. We do now commit the favorite contact. I had an option to go Dystopia, but you don't get the value because he stopped our Cross Crusader, we had to go into what do you call it? The Neo Swingman, because the way I was thinking about it is I don't get any value in resetting my two malicious if I'm about to die because he's got three cards in hand and he's already starting off with a big blowout like Lightning Storm. So I was like, you know what? Whatever he's got, I don't think he can out Neo Swingman the same way he couldn't out at game one. And on top of that, he just went -1 with Lightning Storm because it does not take care of my DPE, and it definitely does not take care of Wake Up or Monster Hero. Wake Up as well as Neos, those are two bumps, like two walls in our end board that Tempai just cannot get over. Because if they try to attack anything into this, their body gets popped and they take burn damage. Same thing for this. They will have to kill their own monster, and then they'll take burn damage as well. It's kind of crazy. These two on their own is GG's. They can't get over this, regardless of what breakers they might have. Even if they had like they try to Typhon some of this stuff, this can't be Typhon. None of this works. Slayer, send back thing. He draws one. He goes Genroku. Perfect. So again, guys, showcasing you guys that it's so, so key to not prioritize plasma as your M board if you're scared of things like breakers or hand traps or neighbor. It's so fragile because should we have ended on plasma, not only was he gonna out the plasma, but that draw one, I guess it doesn't matter, but like it's just safer that way. Yeah, like Genroku now, anything he does that's Tempai related is not getting over Wake Up or Neo Swingman. So he's gonna start attacking, use the effect, I'm not budging. Hydra. Hydra cannot add the Kaiman because we ashed it very first thing in the game. He can only add or set the field spell. Can't do much with the field spell on a Hydra on board. Literally what's going to happen is I will just go into attack mode, attack, burn damage, and just deal the final blow with Wingman because there's just bodies in the graveyard and he's gonna just be decimated with one attack. Yep, Heroes is the original FTK deck. Tempai just ain't it, guys. He leaves. He doesn't quit. He lets me wait for 90 seconds. Um, like the brat that he is. I call him a brat. He's free because he is. Told him better luck next time, Coach Tempai. Like he's trying to coach me. It's like, dude, get out of here, bro. Like, do not listen to folks that you beat. And do not listen to people that just simply don't have the track record. Just how it is. Um, but yeah, give you guys also a little shout out. Hero FB group stand up because I knew I was going to share this one to the group because it was very interactive. It was a very fun matchup, a lot of back and forth. We got to show the real power of what heroes can do if we do get to combo off. And on top of that, I showed you guys some ideal lines in terms of like insulating from hand traps and being smart about all the different interactions that exist in the game. Cool. Let's go take a look at the list. We'll round that off in the last 5 minutes. Let's see here. Looks like we timed out. This is the list that I've been playing. You're gonna notice I took out the evenly matched. It was okay. Not much has changed. I've only improved upon the consistency and started maining the end board pieces. You guys remember the last video I was on like a list of 45. Had one list that was maining this stuff, another list that didn't, and just played a thrust package with Black Goat Laughs or Dharma Cannon. I think those are still great lists. 45 is still something I might go back down to. But like right now, I'm just trying to go like very, very consistent when it comes to my actual engine. And I mean, it's not like we don't have ways to interrupt our opponent on fifth tick. If we open fool and it resolves, you're putting your opponent on a baby board and you're potentially going to be able to break them with like just your engine or even droplet or talents. So yeah, and then post side, we side out all the evil stuff. We put in our thrust, as godly as possible. We put in as many thrusts as possible, and then you're also going from 3 to 6 max Cs, just because that's going to improve the odds of putting your opponent on a baby board, so we break it. I'm not using evil contact or dark contact. There's enough breaks in the deck, guys. Honestly, there's enough break. It's a great extender. It's also a great board breaker. It's just like half the time I'm not even playing the evil hero stuff, especially when I'm going second. I'm going to go for a lot of tech options. There's a world as well where if you respect Malice, you go Meows instead of Perulia, but I decided to respect Fates with Ryzel over Malice. And yeah, who knows? Maybe you guys can play all nine. You figure out how to play all nine, like you take out the mass changes and Duster, you play all nine. But guys, I really think that Konami actually had the best players, the best rogue players' interest at heart when it comes to Meows. Although these cards hurt us as rogue, they also allow us to think of new strategies in terms of how we play. You saw it when I let that Tempai player go second. Just side in all your mulch armies, side in your breakers, like evenly, thrust all that, side all that in. They might be getting ready to go first. Now all of a sudden their siding pattern is messed up. You're gonna win the game. You're gonna be able now also take advantage of not running the bricks, such as like the Super Poly, Evil Contact, Infernal Rider. You remove the bricks, you side in more non-engine, and let's get real, guys. We have so many power spells, a card like Thrusts and Talents. These not only help you break boards, but they help you actually extend. So many ways to just get to like DPE, which is massively, massively crucial in a simplified game state, right? You're constantly popping things. It's indestructible because it can like tag itself out and come back on the next standby phase. It's just really, really good, right? Like the way to think about it is like 6 Fusion Destinies because of Thrust, 6 Evil Assaults, 6 Polymerizations. Yeah, I digress. It's a good list. Um, yeah, not much to really say here. One increase, one dead end prison. That's all you need. You guys saw me play through the one dead end prison in hand while I had Evil Assault in hand. It's fine. It's very doable. But yeah, you kind of have to play them all charmies, guys. Rogue needs the best tech options. I had people ask me, what can I play instead? The answer is nothing. Because these cards actually put pressure on your opponent to minimize how much they're doing in a world of one card combos. And it replenishes itself. You're going to use them properly, right? So you're going to draw usually one or two, even with both, right? You're going to want to chain these when they're actually using an effect that does that type of special that allows you to draw. They make a mini board, they pass, and at that point, you're gonna draw one to two, maybe three, whatever. And you're gonna hope that, the cards that are replenished in place of the mulch armies are things such as like your droplet, more really good engine to extend, your talents, your thrust, things like that. In the side, not much has changed. I still play the Law, still play the Baguska. It's Shifter's still a thing. Bestials could potentially completely terrorize your graveyard. Droll, we did definitely saw a Droll in that one round, right? Droll's still a thing, might pick up in popularity. So yeah, still play Dystopia for time, and also gives you that additional pop if your favorite content gets dusted. We saw it twice in that matchup. And yeah, still play the Malicious Bane. You can still access this on Crackback turn three. It's win more, but good to have it. Maybe somebody doesn't want you to have the win easily, so you can go Malicious Bane, clear the board, attack for game. That way you're also safe under Nibiru if they like, for some reason, like, I don't know, top deck the Nib. Very rare, but it could happen. And yeah, I'm still bouncing between these mass changes, guys. I don't know. All I know is you still should play Law somewhere in your list because it turns off so much. And I brought the mass changes back post side because I actually did see a list that got like top 16 at a regional. It looked like it was a small regional, but mind you, they're remaining all three, and I kind of get it. Like it dodges hand traps and allows you to insulate from like Droll and like a lot of really good board breakers as well, like Droplet. So I was like, you know what? Let's go back into it, like a nice nod at that guy that was able to get, um, top 16 in that regional. So yeah, shout outs to that dude. Can't remember the name. But yeah, this is what my list looks like, and that's it for me. That's Yugi Skull signing out, guys. I'll talk to you guys on the next one.